Ho ho ho, it's that time of year again when Santa, nay G-Dub, brings you some Battleforces box sets in extremely limited supply for you to gift most probably to yourself this Xmas season. I'm your host Benji Claus, and this is a fairly contrived list of the top 8 of these little cardboard piggies ordered in terms of monetary value. There are most assuredly a few surprises in these releases, enough to make things a wee bit spicy. And come what may, these box sets will provide a significant saving no matter their cost, which we're obviously expecting to increase from last year. But this comes at the expense of not being able to pick and choose exactly what plastic you want, so buyer beware and let this little sermon help you make your mind up. I think that about does it for the preamble, so join me as I count from 8 to 1 like a winner. Number 8, Adeptus Mechanicus, and its elimination maniple is, I'm sad to say, the outlier of the list. And that's not because I had to look up what a maniple is, but because every other product on this list provides the same ballpark value, and AdMech refuses to cough up. It doesn't make up for it in the points it brings to the battlefield either, languishing near the bottom of that list too. One thing I will say is that it's not a bad starter type product. If you put aside the unique HQ Big Belly Call and his points hogging aside, you've got the core of a beginner army in 2 packs of 3 Cataphoron destroyers for when you want to go iRobot, and the very tip of the turd in a more Skitarii centric list. That's 3 troop choices unless you go big unit on the destroyers. You've then got the heavy support Castellan robots and their pet Cybernetica Datasmith, which will always find a home. So really this has the makings of a super start collecting set, so long as you can find a place for a more expensive HQ. Number 7, Adeptus Sororitas. Being second on the list is living proof that the armies of the Imperium aren't fans of giving back to the community. To be fair, it's not as bad as AdMech, but the Battle Sisters are still at the top of the bottom tier here, no matter which way you swing it. But what about tabletop value? Well, here we're talking Johnny Average. Another named HQ, which is definitely a theme for these battle forces, and only one troop choice of 10 Battle Sisters squad. Make this much more of a supplementary product, and with a unique character in the box, it's kind of hit and miss, much like a lot of these are. Still, the remaining models all fill up elite slots and are far from shabby. The Paragon Warsalt synergise well with their HQ, and the Celestian Sacrosanct shore up your melee capabilities. Plus, the Battle Sister squad can be built as elites or fast attacks if you so desire, so the odds of you already having too many of these sprues is a little bit diminished. Still, we're on the bottom rung here, and the only way is up. Number 6, Imperial Fists. Bastion Strike Brotherhood is a bit of a lazy one. Yes, we're getting slightly better value than what's come before, especially when you factor in the upgrade sprue you get that I haven't factored into the overall return on investment. But it's outside of another UniQ Warlord in Tor Garadon, you've got the unwanted privilege of opening the contents of 3 boxes of heavy intercessors. Now, nothing against the units themselves, but we didn't need 3 in this type of box. The aggressors are a nice enough consolation prize to round out the Gravis armor goodness, and despite my ire with the troop choices, this is actually a not painful attempt at a starter set, so long as you're happy to go heavy or go home. Sadly, the points this brings to the table is really poor. Now, I know this and the Raven Guard release have got different box art, so maybe they have a dual use, but still, the heavy cost of the intercessors for their points value means that to me, this is the worst set you can buy. Number 5, Raven Guard, and their Raven Strike Battle Force on the other hand, despite middle of the pack in this here list, is chocked full of variety, and 2 HQs to boot. Yes, you've got your big base Chapter Master Kavan Shrike taking up the, at this point, obligatory named HQ slot, but you've also got another leader and a psyker to boot with the Librarian in Phobos armour. This combination is definitely up the moist meter and is a good sign for the accessibility quotient for the box as a whole. Now, whilst there are no troops on show here, you do have a versatile Reaver squad and the often useful Snipey Sniperson unit of Eliminators for all your assassination needs, and things are rounded out with 2 packets of Invicta Tactical Warsalts, which I have no interest in frowning upon because they are a fairly newer model that you're less likely to have multiples of. And whilst they're still slightly under par in terms of points on the tabletop, the Raven Guard are still a step up from the fisting we got with the last entry. Number 4. Death Guard arrive next as one of only 2 non-Imperial box sets, and they're Council of the Death Lord. And Donald ducked me sideways if that isn't a bleeding Primarch smack bang in the middle of the screen. They're not shifting enough of these Majesticus models then that they can afford to bundle these in with other peasant sprues. Not much you can say about Demon Primarchs other than they're a real painting project and a handful on the battlefield. The problem I have with this is that it instantly labels this as a supplementary product, and yet the remainder of the box is your rank and file. 2 boxes equals 14 Plague Marines and 5 Blightlord Terminators, which most Death Guard players should already have their beady hands on. So even though we're in the above average value end of the list, I'm struggling with this oh so awkward of selling points. Still, old Morty says buy me, and who are we to argue? But what a Primarch does do to the value of one of these boxes is edge that points on the battlefield up to the 1000 point range and well over 50 power. So, every cloud. Number 3. Thousand Suns follows a few coins better value later with their Cult of the Crimson King. An holy Primarch with wings is only Magnus the Red in all his demonic glory. But I'm sad to say this follows the same path down the let's just cram any old plastic in a box and let Magnus do the selling ethos that DG and the Mortys did. Still, you do get 20 rank and file Rubric Marines, 6 more than the I like the number 7 Death Guard Plague Marines, and rounding out the bulks is a harem of 3 Exalted Sorcerers for all your Cabal point generating goodness. 3 HQs for comparatively good worth is out to be sniffed at, but you only might need 3 of them in bigger points games, unless you're proxying some as regular sorcerers, leaving us with a similar feeling of who the tuppeny is this box for, like we were for the previous entry. But what a Primarch and 3 HQs in a box do is whack up that power and points value on the battlefield. In fact, no other box on this list can top it. So with caveats aside that you actually use everything, that's a thumbs up moment. Number 2, Adeptus Custodes and all its gold livery takes the silver spot in this list. The Watchers of the Gate gets a lot right for me, not just for its comparative value, but it's more aligned from a consumer perspective with the ethos of these sets. Packing each one with a named HQ and going from there works absolutely fine with the Custodes, because there are no cheap points units anywhere in the codex. So having Captain General Trajan Valoris as your warlord, being the boss that he is, backed up by 3 boxes of Custodian Guard and all their customizable sprue winningness, makes them the core of any good starter army. Then you've still got 3 more elite than elite Alaris Custodians, and the same number of this is what Harleys will look like in a few millennia Virtus Praetors on Dawn Eagle jet bikes. Basically, this hits as the most accessible product we've talked about so far, and as a cherry on top provides the second most value. Oh, and it hits that sweet spot of around 1000 points. So job done and done. And number 1, Imperial Knights. Yep, that's right, this Christmas we have Demon Primarchs for Chaos and big sexy robots for the Imperium. They definitely pulled out the big guns quite literally for this raft of battle forces, and front and centre is the Knight Preceptor Canis Rex, which can thankfully be built as any knight of your choice. It's also got an equal Lego pilot to go with it. Ah, bless. You then got 2 boxes of armigers, coming in packs of 2 each, a box of ranged Helverins and a separate lot of melee-centric Warglaives. Give a little bit of playstyle flexibility. Still, do I love that you've got 4 armigers and only 1 big daddy here? No, I do not. That being said, there was no real leeway to cram in another knight, and the armigers very much allow you to fill out those slightly smaller point games, leaving you with a starter box in the very loosest sense of the term, and a supplementary product only if you haven't dipped your toes into the world of the junior knight armigers yet. Oh, and there's a very healthy amount of power and points out of the box here, so a mixed but largely positive review for this little piggy. And that, as they say, is that. Seriously, do get your add to basket finger action at the ready, because these don't last long when they go up for pre-order. But the whole suite of boxes leaves me with mixed feelings. Stuck between worlds, as I've pointed out numerous times during this video, as so few have a definite target audience in mind. And although history tells us GW do not care about diversification of factions with these sets, the fact that it is so lopsided towards the Imperium and there are no Xenos races is a definite boo hiss. Alas, I have been the voice of Benji, and this video has ended.